Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'm coming in at this 9, yes, he had 4 points, I'll have 10 points, just for spite at this point in time. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I join this debate here tonight on a very important fiscal matter that I find it interesting. You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I did my government and politics education in the United States. And there's a system within the US senatorial system known as a filibuster. And so, for those of us who know, a filibuster in the system of the United States is used by members, usually in the minority, in the opposition then, who want to delay the passage of a bill or prevent some procedural element so that they come into the debate and they lengthen the process. Yeah, and so I'm trying to understand, Mr. Deputy Speaker, why is the government filibustering their own bill here today? I sat here, I was waiting for the Minister of Finance to conclude this bill about 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago, and I can't understand why the government, could only be the member for Aruka Maloney at this point, who told them, get a practice session here tonight, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The first time in a long time I heard the member for Labre speak was tonight. And only for him to forget he's a minister of government and has a ministry that he could report on, because not once did he mention labor. He talked about no water and he talked about bad roads, and he forgets all about his own ministry that he could report on. And you know, I'm coming after the minister in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for government communications. Now that tells you everything that they put him so late in the night. Because he sounded unconvinced and was very unconvincing. And so it makes sense to put that Minister of Communication late in the night. Usually, the Minister of Communication would have all of the requisite knowledge to defend the government's position, to articulate the government's move forward, and to present artfully and persuasively an argument for why it is the government is doing whatever it is doing. He did none of that. He gave us 4 points that he claimed he wrote today, that he has raised in this House already before today in a prior debate. So, you see, when the member for Superior said we can't trust them, he showed us why. That trust issue, the question of the narrative, the question of diversification, he raised that in a previous debate. My memory is good, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So he's not even being innovative. He didn't even come to discuss what we were talking about today. He used his old budget speech, cut it down a little bit, and came to tell us to filibuster his own motion. So I say, no, Dego Martin Central. So when he faces Dego Martin Northeast for screening, he will have to answer for this filibuster here today, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in my entry into the debate here today, coming after my colleagues who spoke to the question of when you are asking the population or you are telling the population you want the ability to borrow more, or that it goes without saying that you are looking forward to a space where you may need to spend more, because that could be the only logical conclusion. And so when we say to you, you have to be able to tell us, you have to be accountable and transparent and say to us, these are the reasons why we may need to spend more. This is why we may need $10 billion extra. This is why we may need to borrow $10 billion. And so the questions that we have are valid and reasonable. And so, as I raised in my private member's motion, and I'll raise it here again today, what is your difficulty with answering reasonable, logical questions? What is the difficulty in saying to the nation that we may need $10 billion more, that we may have to borrow it, and these are the things that we would want to do? What is the difficulty? And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, after countless speakers on that side, filibustering, no, we have to respond. If Minister of Finance had stood up, you know, thank you, Mr. Deputy. No, I am not filibustering. I am setting the record straight. I am setting the record straight. I I want to find out if the next speaker cannot tell me why they are not allowing the Minister of Finance to wrap up this debate, if they don't really want the $10 billion. If they really don't want the $10 billion. So, no, but how is it? How is it that you tell us this is important and then you keep fielding speakers to tell us nothing, right? So that's a valid question. It's a valid question. And I'm sure there are 5 more speakers lined up and maybe one of them would be able to answer the question. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when the Minister for Labour was speaking, the Minister said he would answer what the money is being used for. Minister, I know many may have missed it, right? But the Minister of Labour said it was going to be used for infrastructure investment, human development, and crisis management. Yeah, Minister of Labour, we could check. He said some more, but I stopped. I scribbled. No, I have a very good handwriting, no scribbles. And so that crisis management, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But the Minister didn't elaborate, so I thought the Minister for Communications would come and elaborate on what this crisis management may be. So is it, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that in anticipation, there was this space that the Minister of Labour is in his deliberation saying that this government may require an additional $10 billion for some crisis management. And so, when we look at the state of the country overall, and it is not out of a desire to put down Trinidad and Tobago, but a desire to live in the reality faced by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. What crisis is the Minister of Labour waiting to manage? Because as far as we can see, there's a crisis in healthcare, there's a crisis in national security. We are already in a space where we needed a crisis management. And so therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, how is the Minister of Labour telling us that we may have a need for crisis management when we can show you right now where the crisis is happening and you are leaving it ignored and unabated, Mr. Deputy Speaker? And so, as we discuss the finances of the country, the Speaker just before me, the member for Gov't Central, said that the opposition uses emotional arguments, or emotive arguments, is what I assume he was trying to say. And that in the use of the emotive arguments is a way to take us away from logic and reason. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, we sit in the House of Representatives. It is our duty to represent the voices of the people who sit outside of this House. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if we don't raise issues of infrastructural decay, and if we don't raise the issues where people come to us as representatives and say, if they are spending all of this money, why not spend it here? Why are we unable to see improvements here? Why can't we have a better healthcare system? Why can't we have better schools or for school infrastructure be updated? When they're saying these things to us and to accuse us of using emotive arguments rather than just doing our job of representing the voices of the citizens outside, I find that to be very disingenuous from the Minister, the Minister of Communications, the member for Gov't Central. And so that the space that we are in, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that we have a government who has to account for 9 years thus far of governing. They have to account for billions of dollars of expenditure. They have to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago that with the billions they've already spent, this is the quality of life that you have now. And they have to say to the people that in the next year, if we were to address the need, if we were to use this $10 billion, it would be used to address your needs in X, Y, and Z manner. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I say to the government, in your move to filibuster your own motion, I think that you yourselves know that $10 billion more to access loan facilities of $10 billion more will not help you. It will not assist you. And so that is why you're using this time to field every speaker that you have to tell us little to nothing about your actual achievements, your role for development in the future, and to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago, after 9 years of under the governing of the People's National Movement, what can the people of Trinidad and Tobago show for that? And I thank you, Mr. Deputy.